It feels like I'm at war and I'm on the battlefield, and my body's like, "If you fall asleep, like, you're gonna die because you're on the battlefield, like, you cannot fall asleep." I had so much anxiety because I was like, "Oh, no, I need meds to sleep." It was like that was the statement. My brain had decided that was the statement, "I need meds to sleep." And I found your videos online, and then I immediately ordered your books. That was so helpful for me because I felt like everything made sense. And so that made me feel less lonely because obviously, if you haven't struggled with this, me telling my friends and family members, they did not understand. We are obsessive people. We are type A. We like routine. I have always been that way and I will always admit it. I never thought it would affect my sleep, but that wanting to control the outcome and environment and everything is what keeps you stuck. And so I had to just kind of let it be and take it day by day and be like really patient with myself. And what you also mentioned is I really needed to give myself grace. And I was not doing that at all in the beginning. I was like, oh, why can't you just sleep? Why can't you just do it? Especially working with my sleep coach, it was like, Ashlee, like, it's not going to be perfect. We're all perfectionists, and we had to learn it's not going to be perfect. That's one of the best things about your program is that I always was telling all of my friends in recovery, I was like, I wouldn't have been able to do it without them because they truly were in my shoes. And so they could help me from a perspective that nobody else could offer me.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to yet another really special Talking Insomnia episode. We have Ashlee with us. Welcome.
Hi, Danielle. Thanks for having me.
Any time. And for those of you who don't know, Ashlee, you were a part of our Insomnia Immunity Program, and you sent an email saying you'd be happy to share your story. I'm so grateful for that. So, with that said, take us from the very start. How did you start having trouble sleeping?
Yeah. So, when being on the other side of it now, when I look back, I think not my whole life, maybe like once I went to college, I think that's when I became what I would say like a light sleeper and just like I would sleep and it would be fine, but I was just never one of those people, for example, my husband who could like fall asleep at a friend's house on the couch, on the airplane, whatever. I just needed like my home and my bed and my body and my brain to feel safe, but it never interfered in any sort of crazy way. How my insomnia journey started was in August, this past August. So I had a miscarriage back in May. I didn't have any issues sleeping specifically from May to August. Obviously, I wasn't in like the best of spirits, but I didn't have insomnia. And when but I think when I put two and two together, I do think like my hormones had a little bit to do with it. But what had happened was at the end of July, I went on a cruise with my husband and my two kids, and I knew I wasn't gonna sleep. I was gonna share a 200 square foot room with a 3-year old, a 6-year old, and my husband. And I just kind of, mentally prepared like is it really vacation when you go away with your kids? But it was fine. You battle through it. It just kind of is what it is. And I just remember thinking, I can't wait to get home. I'll be back in like my safe place in my bed. I won't have the interruptions. I'll have the room to myself. Like it'll be fine. And that's exactly what happened. Like we came home and I had a couple great nights. I got to catch up. I felt like normal again. And when I connected to of like my miscarriage and the sleep is so one being when I came back from the cruise, I was putting a lot of emphasis on sleep because I just was like, I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to like sleep again. So I think that's when the emphasis of it all started. So it was on my brain. And then what I had noticed after my miscarriage was that at a specific part in my cycle, I would have a little bit of insomnia. I think the change in my hormones would just cause my body to be a little out of whack, but it was never it never gave me anxiety. it just was like, "Okay, here's your couple rough days, you go on, whatever." But because I had the sleep on my mind, it ended up causing me anxiety. So mid-August, that part of my cycle happened, and it lasted, I had like a 2 days of what I would contribute to my cycle causing insomnia, and then it took off from there. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm never gonna sleep again." Um it kinda like a switch flipped in my brain, and, I was trying to sleep in, like, each of my daughter's beds. At that time, I think I would like, my body would finally fall asleep at, like, 3 or 4 AM, and then, my kids get up at 6 or 7, so I was getting, like, a couple hours. And so I had gone to, my primary care physician and just told her I was having trouble sleeping, and she prescribed me trazodone. It did absolutely nothing except for give me a stuffy nose. So I was like, really didn't sleep. So then I continued on like the rest of the week. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I think I just need something that's going to knock me out. So I went to urgent care, and they prescribed me Ambien. Um, and so I took an Ambien and I did sleep. I slept for 5 hours, and when I woke up, this is, like, interesting. I remember when I woke up at, like, 3 AM, I had so much anxiety because I was like, "Oh, no, I need meds to sleep." And it was like that was the statement. My brain had decided that was the statement, "I need meds to sleep." So, I took another one and I fell back asleep and it was fine. But obviously I didn't wanna, rely on that, and, a couple days later when I tried it, it didn't even work anymore because my anxiety was so heightened at that point. Um, the following week, I had already had a follow-up scheduled with my OB, and I went in and I was so upset and I was like, "I can't sleep. I have so much anxiety." And she prescribed me Ativan. And she was like, "I think you just need to take a big dose for a couple of days and just reset your body, reset the clock, just like come down and whatever." So I was like, "Okay." And I was too scared to take it. I was too scared to take this like large dose. Like, I'm pretty holistic, so like me even taking like an ibuprofen was like maybe once a year. Now I'm doing all these meds and stuff. It was just increasing my angst. Um, so I took like a small dose of the Ativan and it didn't really do anything. And I think at that point, is when I like the physicalities of the anxiety in my body started. So I had my loss of appetite, which caused me to have like a lot of, I never actually threw up, but I felt very nauseous, which was really interesting to me because usually the way my body handles stress is like I want to eat, right? We want to stress eat, we want the comfort. And mine was doing the other way. And that just was nothing I ever experienced before, and so I felt like, "Oh my gosh, like, I feel like both my cups are empty, like, I don't have my sleep cup, and I don't have, like, a nutrient cup." And I think that when, I first discovered your channel and I was listening to these stories, I think that's something that made me feel a little isolated because I didn't hear a lot of people talk about struggling with the food. And I was like, oh my gosh, they don't sleep, but they go about their day and they work and whatever. And I just was like, I would give anything to have that energy, but like, I have nothing in my stomach. I haven't slept for weeks. I can't keep anything down. I'm a very active person, so I wasn't working out. And, that drains your mental health in general. So, um, the meds weren't working. Um, I tried to go sleep at my mother-in-law's house. That didn't work. My husband and I tried to go away to the beach. That didn't work. Obviously, looking back, putting all that pressure on myself is what made it absolutely horrible. It was like, by the time you get back, you have to sleep and da 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 da. And it was way too much. So, at I kinda would just I was really depressed and really anxious, and I kinda would just do my best to get through the day. I would get, like, maybe a couple hours. Um, After a couple weeks, my body started to go into hypersleep. So it wouldn't let me sleep for more than like 15 to 20 minutes at a time. And I would wake up and my heart would be pounding. It was really hard for me to explain that to other people because they just didn't understand. And so I would say it feels like I'm at war and I'm on the battlefield. And my body's like, if you fall asleep, like you're going to die because you're on the battlefield. Like you cannot fall asleep. And so, like, I would fall asleep and I would wake up and be, like, freaking out, like, "Oh, no, you fell asleep." So that was really hard because it wasn't even like I got an hour or anything. It was, like, maybe 15 minutes, and it was just really, really hard. Um, I was seeing I still see it there. I've seen a therapist since I was 15, and so, I was working closely with her on a weekly basis. Um, and we got to a point where she was like, "I think you just need to take that big dose of the Ativan and just see what happens. You're not gonna get addicted to it. You're not gonna have a withdrawal from taking it one time. Like, just take it once, see what happens, and we're gonna go from there." So I took like a larger dose of it and I slept the whole night. I woke up the next day and I felt like a completely different person. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have an appetite. I slept." Da da da. Like any normal person would say when they've been struggling with sleep or you're in the newborn stage and you finally get however many hours and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." But again, it was in that frame of mind where I'm like, I can't rely on this. Like, I don't do drugs. Like, this is a hardcore thing. Like, I don't know how to manage this. So, for this is kind of September timeframe. I would say from like mid September to early October, what I would do is I would take the Ativan on like one day and I would sleep. And I think because I had a big dose, there was still enough in my system that the next day I would sleep too. And then the rest of the week I wouldn't sleep. And I think, and I just tried to manage the best way I could. And I definitely was still like, "I'm never gonna sleep again. I don't know what's happening to me, da 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 da." Um, I think at the end of September, beginning of October, maybe is when I discovered your program and I found your videos online. And then I immediately ordered your books. And um, I that was so helpful for me because I felt like everything made sense. And so that made me feel less lonely because obviously if you haven't struggled with this, me telling my friends and family members, they did not understand. It's like the joke when in sleep coach school when, we're like, "Oh, they say just drink chamomile tea and you'll be fine." And you're like, "No, you don't get it." Like that's not it. I wish that was the solution, but it's not. Um so reading your book and getting your emails was really helpful for me. Specifically, I loved one of your emails where you talked about your um, mindset if you won the lottery, and it was like, um, you wake up and you have no energy, and you're setting the tone for your day because you got a crappy night of sleep. But if someone called you and was like, "You won $1 million," you'd be like doing backflips, right? And I was like, "Oh my god, he's so right." Like I'm not doing it to myself, obviously I would have more energy if I slept, but I'm letting it take over my life. And I'm not doing any of the things I normally would. And so that's not keeping me happy and I'm just sitting here thinking about sleep all the time, which is just keeping the anxiety heightened. And so basically working in your program and reading and stuff, um little by little what I would do is just I had to have my anxiety come down, which takes a long time. And I think I remembered in your program or reading in your book you mentioned that and I was like, "No, Daniel, it can't take weeks." Like it has to happen now. And I was so frustrated, but I get it now, right? Like it's just not something that happens overnight. um and so let's say I would sleep on a Monday for 4 hours and then, you know, a couple go a couple nights and not sleep, I would just like have my mindset like, "Oh my gosh, well, a month ago you were sleeping in 15-minute intervals, if that, and you just slept for 4 hours straight." Like, round of applause, like, gratitude journal, right? And then, um I forget if it's the Houdini effect, you can remind me, but I definitely struggled at first with, like, the patterns. So, especially with the Ativan, it'd be like, "Okay, so actually you're gonna take the Ativan, you're gonna sleep for 2 nights, and then you're not gonna sleep." And I had to get myself out of that cycle. I had to be like, "No, that's not definitive. That is what has happened, but it's not definitive." So, as I started to break those cycles of, okay, yeah, maybe on that 3rd night you didn't get like a full 8 hours, but you did better than you did last time, or it wasn't like nothing. And so I tried to slowly like build myself up in confidence. Um, and I would try to go about my day as normal as I could. So I'd be like, okay, you know what? Maybe you can't do like a full on weightlifting workout like you would normally do, but like go on a walk, go outside, go do something, listen to a podcast, don't think about sleep. And, just try to distract yourself. I would find like some really good shows that I was into and be like, okay, well, at least this 1 hour, because unless you're in it, like it literally is all you think about. It's crazy how much of a rabbit hole you can go down when you're struggling with sleep, that it takes over your mind. And like you've mentioned in your program, a lot of us that struggle with this, we are obsessive people. We are type A. We like routine. I have always been that way and I will always admit it. I never thought it would affect my sleep. But that wanting to control the outcome and environment and everything is what keeps you stuck. And so I had to just kind of let it be and take it day by day and be like really patient with myself. And what you also mentioned is I really needed to give myself grace. And I was not doing that at all in the beginning. I was like, oh, why can't you just sleep? Why can't you just do it? Da 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 da. And especially working with my sleep coach, it was like, Ashley, like, it's not going to be perfect. We're all perfectionists, and we had to learn it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be what it's going to be. And the gratitude is really what helped me being like, okay, what went great today, even if it didn't relate to sleep. You're just creating this positive mindset. And in return, your brain is connected to your body, and so it's like um if you're freaking out about everything all the time, your body's going to be tense. I was having that anxiety. I was had that loss of appetite and felt nauseous. And so I had to little by little kind of like bring that down, which in return brought my body language and my shoulders down, and I got my appetite back and started to like slowly and slowly sleep more and more. And I think I also sort of came to terms with the fact that um I'm not gonna be a perfect sleeper, and I don't know if that was ever my goal, but I think I was just, like, going through this, at the end, I thought, "Gosh, if, like, I ever, you know, had a awful, awful night again or pulled an all-nighter or whatever, like, I would be so mentally well prepared to handle it, versus a decade ago when I didn't even have insomnia and I didn't even struggle with it. But I have so many tools and resources now that I know that it sounds so simplistic, right? When you say sleep just comes to you. And it it does, but it doesn't. Like if you don't know how to create that um mindset and awareness of not obsessing about it and not having like wanting to control it. Um, so by I think the beginning of November or maybe mid-November, I think I had finished your program. And I was sleeping fine. And I wasn't thinking about it anymore. And I think for me that was like the ultimate prize, if you will, is regardless of whatever type of sleep I was getting, it didn't affect me. I didn't think about it. I didn't plan anything about it. I didn't it just was what it was, like, before. You just are like, "Okay, maybe the next night," you might have a second thought when you wake up from a bad night of sleep, like, I'll catch up tonight," and then you just go about your day. Um, so, yeah.
Wonderful, Ashley. Thanks so much. As you can tell, I didn't interject or interrupt one time because you were telling your story in such a wonderful way, and I'm so glad to hear it. Things got so much easier for you. You left the struggle. Now, I had, of course, some questions for you. One of them was, when things were really difficult, you had this like hyper sleep, almost slept like
Mhm.
a few, 50 minutes at a time, and you were thinking about nothing but sleep all day long. How did things go with your daytime obligations? You have kids, maybe you have other things you need to do. How did that go?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was tough. My husband was definitely pulling a lot of the weight. Um, as far as, taking my kids to school, getting them ready, breakfast, all that kind of stuff. Because they are a little bit older, they are a little bit more independent. But I would try to force myself to do little things like pick them up from school. They go to different schools. So it'd be like, okay, can you make it through the 15-minute carpool with having this angst, but you're getting out of the house. And these simple tasks before that became very heavy and exhausting mentally um, were were hard. But now I don't take them for granted.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
But
thanks
yeah,
for sharing.
it's hard. My husband definitely had to pick up a lot of the slack.
All right. Now, another question I have for you was, you know, at some point you took the Ativan
Mhm.
once a week, and
Mhm.
it's then you slept 1 or 2 nights, then you didn't sleep much.
Yeah.
Did you, do what happened to the Ativan? Or and
Yeah.
then they
Yeah, so, I stopped taking it. I mean, I got to a point, I don't remember when, I think it was maybe mid-October where, um, it was one of those gratitude things where as my body started to calm down and I was like, okay, a week is up when I would normally take the Ativan. Let's try to go without it. And then, I would sleep however I would sleep, and then I would go another night. And then that soon turned into a couple of weeks. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm so proud of myself. And that was my ultimate goal, was that I was like, I don't want to have to take that. I know it's in my back pocket for worst case scenario, but I would rather not. I want to just have like a clean slate. And so, yeah, kind of like I said, when I just took it day by day, um, that's what I did. And after a couple weeks, it just wasn't even an option anymore.
Yeah.
So that was good.
No, that's very helpful, to hear that, and, I also wanna ask you, after you found, the way we teach, the books, you joined the program, of course, there were some nights that were a little choppier, others were easier and things of that nature, but did you have any of these episodes we call speed bumps where, like, for a little stretch, you were kinda like, "Oh, am I back to square one?" That type of thing?
Yes, I did for sure. And being able so I had that before I did your program, and then having it afterwards, which is kind of just like a testament to um even being able to just identify it being a speed bump helps you mentally. And you can just be like, bummer, like, that was a rough night. Hopefully, it doesn't happen tonight, but, like, we'll see how it goes. And I think as time went on, and the speed bumps, I wouldn't say necessarily were less, but maybe, like, further apart than normal. Um, it was, sort of like how I mentioned before, I would wake up and be like, that kinda sucked, that wasn't, like, the best night, but, like, that's okay. Daniel says it happens, and it's normal and just part of the process, like we talked about before, it's not going to be perfection and it's not going to be like, okay, you completed the program. So you're going to get a perfect 8 hours every single night. That's just not reality for anybody, insomnia or not. So, yes, I definitely had those. And once I was able to identify them with your knowledge, it made the process smoother.
Very, very nice to hear. And I don't know if you still read my newsletters, but I last Friday actually, uh, coincidentally, I wrote about exactly this about like it's not gonna be perfect, or often we say my sleep is much better, but it's not perfect. And my whole newsletter, in case anybody wonders or didn't read it, was about like, well, what aspect of your life is perfect, right? If you think about it, like, are you a perfect cook? Are you a perfect spouse? A perfect, like, we all think of like, not really, and we are okay with that, right? So applying that to sleep is really helpful too. And for those of you who are not subscribed to my newsletter, there's an episode coming out about on the YouTube channel as well. But yeah, so were you in the green team?
I don't remember.
Matter. Were you with Ali and Alina, or with Veronica and
I
Kristen?
was with Allie, and then when she wasn't there, I think it was Richard would fill
Yeah,
in.
yeah, Richard. Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she was wonderful, and actually it was, like, totally meant to be because Allie specifically had struggled with, the eating and the angst and the hypersleep, and so she, I think was my biggest cheerleader and resource as far as, being able to relate to me, and, um, like, she just was down that rabbit hole as much as I was at a certain point. And so working with the coaches is so cool because I think the most inspiring part is that not has everyone only had their own insomnia story. So like they truly get it. Um, but you as like the client, if you will, can see how they've overcome it, and it's all of your resources are wonderful, but it's not just read the book, just watch the videos. Like the one-on-one interaction and the personal, if you will, like therapy sessions, getting to the nitty-gritty and the specific things that we each person struggles with on their journey is so like deep and helpful. And when I look back on it, I always say that as unfortunate but fortunate for you as it is, like, nobody else could help or relate to me on this journey at all besides your program. And no friends, family, no doctor, no therapist, like, nothing, you know? And it would drive me crazy that, um, as I'm sure many of your clients say, that you even if they go to a certified sleep doctor or something and they're like, well, do you have blackout curtains? And do you, wash your face before bed in a specific way? And it just these rituals, right, that we're already like kind of obsessive about, it just makes it worse. And you're like, wow, like you really don't you don't understand, you don't get it. And I think that's one of the best things about your program is that I always was telling all of my friends in recovery, I was like, I wouldn't have been able to do it without them because they truly were in my shoes. And so they could help me from a perspective that nobody else could offer me, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm so glad you found us, and Ali will be so glad to hear this as well.
Mhm.
Super glad. Uh, which leads us to these questions I always have towards the end. One of which is, did you learn things throughout, through this journey of leaving the struggle with sleep or leaving the struggle with insomnia that have been helpful in other areas of life?
Yes. For sure. I think the control and perfectionism part is something, again, that I've always been able to identify in myself. And seeing a therapist since I was 15, I'm very big into anything trauma related. I love reading like self help books. I love I just love the information, mental health is such a hot topic right now, and we have so many great resources coming out to be able to help that, I think, putting those 2 and 2 together, like your program and my knowledge, has really helped me, coming out on the other side of, like, and with my miscarriage too, right? I was like, "Dang, that sucks," but, it's out of my control. And so, and I really wanted to control it, if I'm being honest. I was like, "I wanna get pregnant again, I wanna," like, it was just so up to me, and it's not. So, I definitely learned to, I would say, quote unquote, like, go with the flow more. Um, and um, Also, I think not take sleep for granted. Um, because you don't think about it till you have to, right? It's just a part of your life, like eating. It's just a part of your life. Um, but I would say, yeah, letting go of control and perfectionism, and enjoying the small things has, um, really shaped a different perspective coming on that other side of this journey.
Yeah, wonderful to hear, wonderful. And finally, if you could travel back in time to, when things were really difficult,
Mhm.
what would you tell yourself?
Mm. I would probably tell myself that it's all gonna be worth it, like the struggle, the journey. Um, it's gonna grow you. I would say that's the biggest, pro from the whole thing, is that I've grown in so many different ways. And I think, like any difficult situation in your life, you live it, you grow from it, you learn from it, and for the better, you are a different person when you come out on the other side.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a great point. Uh, because a lot of people, as you know, in our community are like, "Will I ever be the same? Will things ever go back to the way they used to be?" And of course, sleep-wise, things can go back to the way it used to be, and they will as you're on this journey, like, you will sleep easily. Will you be exactly the same person as you were? No, because everything that happens to us changes us in some way, right? But it changes us towards growth, and, like, we're a wiser person, more insightful person. It's like a growth thing, so
Mhm.
wonderful point to end on. So, um, I'll just say thank you so much, Ashley, for being a guest
Mm.
and be in touch.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone. Hi, it's me, Daniel, and I hope you really found a lot of value in the video you just saw. Now, I have a question for you. Did you hit the like button? Did you leave a comment? If not, then please consider that, because that is what leads to people finding us, finding peaceful sleep and peace of mind and feeling like themselves again, and all the other wonderful things that come from understanding what insomnia is really all about. So, yes, just hit that like button, leave a comment, and that will help so much. Thank you.